So how do we pull it all together into an amortization schedule? That's the next and biggest question. And the way I would do this is actually starting back at the balance sheet. And so I've decided to go to a company that I know has a few debt issues, long-term debt issues, and that company is Google, believe it or not. And the reason I say believe it or not is quite often technology companies don't have much in the way of amortizable debt. And so I'm going to go to Google's 10K. This is their most recent 10K when I recorded this, which was, I think, 2013. I may be wrong. We're going to find out really soon. So I'm going to go to Google, financial statements, and then the balance sheet just to see what we're looking at. I guess I was wrong. It's 2012. So at the end of 2012. What I'm looking for is long-term debt. And the reason I start here is twofold. Number one, I want to make sure that they have some. And in this case they do. They have 2.9 in million except shares. Okay, yeah, it is. It's 2.988 billion. So approximately $3 billion in debt. And we're looking for long-term debt. We're not really interested in the short-term debt. And you can see they have some short-term debt. But amortizing that over the long run is kind of useless since it's, well, short-term and will be paid off within a year. Hence the name. So to begin with, we need to find the note on long-term debt so we know how to categorize it. Is it a principal and interest loan? Is it a bond? There are some other instruments that we haven't talked about, for instance, zero coupon bonds and other types of instruments that we're not really going to cover here. But at least we can get a good handle with the couple that we do have. So I'm going to hit Control F, go under a menu, but I just realized mine doesn't have a menu. So I'm going, and since I had 2988 highlighted, it thinks that's what I'm looking for, which isn't true. So I'm going to go long-term debt. And it's found one on this page right there, which is where I was looking. And it's like, duh. But I'm looking for a numbered note. So I'm going to hit enter until I find something that looks like it's it's part of a numbered note. And I mean, it would be nice if it were like the heading of a numbered note. Well, like that one actually. It's not really the heading. The heading's up here. It's note 4. And then they have short-term debt, and then they have long-term debt. And this is the one we're going to be pulling apart. So as of the end of December, what do these look like? First off, I want to point out there are 3. There are the 1.25% note due on May 19th, 2014. Then they have the 2 1/8% note due on May 19th, 2016. And then there's the 3 and, of course, 5/8 note due on May 19th, 2021. From December through May, how many months is that? Well, and especially 2012 to 2014, there are 12 to take us through the next year, and then 5, so that's 17. 12 plus 5. So here's what I would do, is each one of these is going to need its own sheet. So I'm going to first off note that A, are these bonds or are they principal and interest loans? One of our keys was if they don't go down from one year to the next at all, then they're bonds. They may not be called bonds, but they are bonds. These don't go down from one year to the next, so they're bonds. They would be amortized like bonds. By the way, if you need another reason why they're bonds. And this doesn't always work, but if you can find this kind of verification, it helps us feel better about it. If we go over to Yahoo's bond page and look through the bonds, we find, oh, there's Google, 19th of May 2014, 1.2% coupon bond. This is in the bond section, so yeah, it's a bond, okay? So it's a bond. I'm going to go now over to my template. What I would do at this point is left mouse button on top of the thing that says Sheet 1, and I'm going down, even though you can't see it, to where it says Move or Copy. And I'll pull this up so you can see it. And it's saying, where do I want to put that? I'm going to put it in a new book, and I'm going to create a copy. Okay. This one I'm going to call the 1.125%, or I could have called it just the bond that, that's probably better, the one that matures in 2014. We know that it's 17 months out. We know that it's 1,000. And by the way, what we're really looking at is this number right here. Now, note we're looking only at the end of 2012. We don't care what's happening in 2011. And we're taking whatever number this is. These are in millions because all their financial statements are in millions. So if you're doing this for a company, the easiest thing to do is leave them in the units that they were in the first place. So my 2014 1.25% coupon interest. So I'm going to 1.25, and now I need a second one. So I'm going to again right click on the tab, choose Move or Copy, go to Book 2, move to the end. Okay, this is a new one. There's my first one, the one I already fixed. Sheet 1. And I'm going back really quickly to here and say the 10K and say 2 1/8% May 19th, 2016. So that's 17 and 2 more years. So that's 17 plus 24. If you don't want to do the math in your head, by the way, you can actually just go over here and say, let's see, that's equal to 17. That would take me to May of 2014 plus 2 more years, 24 months. It gives me all 41. And month issued is 5. We have 1,000. And the 2 1/8%. Sorry I didn't go in the same order. In fact, we can pop that out so we can see the whole thing. So we have the 1,000, 2 1/8, 41, that's the 2014 plus 2 years. Month issued is the 5th. And as we pop down here, we can see that it is dropping that off just where it's supposed to. It won't make much of a difference here because we don't go that far out, but we do see that it is popping these up into current maturity, getting ready to pay them off essentially. So this one is 2016, and now we're ready to go back and do the last one. So first off, the last one is 3 5/8 and 2021, which is 5 years beyond 41, now that we know that one's a 41. So it's going to be 41 plus 5 years. 5 times 12 is 60, so 41 plus 60 is 101 months. Yeah, okay. My bond template, and yeah, I messed up on the last one because I didn't push make copy, so I closed without saving and reopened it, which is kind of the same thing as opening it from scratch. I'm going to give this one the finger. Okay, I'm going to right mouse button it and then choose Move or Copy. I'm going to create a copy, move to Book 2, move to the end. Okay. I'm going to call this now 2021. This is 1,000, 3.625%. Again, I'm going to pop that out a little. 101 months, because it's the 41 to take me through 2016, and then I'm going to go 5 years more, and it's going to mature on exactly the same day. Going to do month issued as 5, and we're finished. So I have 1, 2, and 3. Because I don't want to be doing one for each, I'm going to do a summary sheet. So I'm going to call this Summary. And what I'm going to do with this summary is I'm going to grab just the headings. So I'm getting those. And we need, if you have any bonds, you need the line that says accrued interest. You'd need a line, if you have some P&I loans, principal and interest loans, you'll have to have the headings for each group. And so I'm going to widen this out, probably put a total on here. Move these over by indenting them. Shoot. And then I realized that I need an extra row. There we go. Going back to 2021 to get my headings at the top now. And say copy and paste so that I get the same headings across the top. At this point, I'm going to be summing, sort of like drilling through these sheets. If you look at this as actual paper, then this tab has all of the interest expenses in I3 through who knows what 3. And then what's nice is the way it's set up. 2016 does and 2021 does as well. So I can move that back over. And then the interest expense here on the summary is just going to be equal to this one plus this one plus this one. Enter. Now, as I move down to accrued interest, because everything's lined up perfectly, I'll just include all of that jazz and widen that out so we can see it all. And there's all of my $3 billion in debt, by the way. I'm going to underline that. And then I'm going to sum so I can get the total. And at this point I'm going to highlight all of it and move it across. I'm going to widen out my columns and call it good. And that's the way things are going to be looking. So we're going to have 3 billion. And it looks like we have a little more than 3 billion because we have interest that I haven't yet paid. That's why that's a little over 3 billion until we pay off the first billion. And then I guess we never get to where we pay off the second, but we're really close. I mean, 2 more and we'd be down to just 1 billion on this if we were out into year 4. So I'm hoping that helped. What I'm hoping that you do when you write this up, by the way, is that you talk a little bit about the debt that they have, how you made the decision as to whether it was a bond versus a P&I loan, and a little bit about their debt structure in general. I mean, they may have lots of liabilities and none of them came out of the financial market. That's kind of interesting. What is it that they have in the way of liabilities? Those sorts of things, and then how much of this is contractually obligated, needing to be paid in the next few years. You know, just interpret kind of what we're seeing. That's kind of all I'm looking for.